Hey everybody, my name is Marcel Irnie and today is January 3rd, 2025. 1,071 days ago, January 29th, 2022, I was harassed, persecuted for my political beliefs, for my freedom of speech, my right to protest. And here comes Freddie. He wants to protest as well. But so ERBES, everybody remembers Constable Conrad Tyrant ERBES came at me in my camper after the very beginning of the Freedom Convoy on January 29th. It was one of my favorite days of my life. At the time, this was like the best day of my life because we were all held down in COVIDism for what, a year and a half, and we couldn't leave the province even. They would give you tickets or arrest you if you went province to province, if you tried to go to Alberta. And so times were absolutely terrible with the totalitarianism, the authoritative rule of the governments for this COVIDism, or I call bullshit 19. And so times were absolutely messed up, and the Freedom Convoy came to fruition, and there was thousands of people downtown Kelowna, BC, and it was just this momentous, amazing day. And so all the thousands of people came, protested, and then left, and I was in my camper chatting on the phone, making some food before I head home to the next town over, and where I was staying. And then I get a knock at the door from Conrad ERBES, and he goes for 3 hours. He detains me for 3 hours trying to get my ID, while he refused to give me his identification, either verbally or on his vest, which he hid under the Velcro with other stuff over top of it, and would not give me his ID, nothing. I ended up calling the police on this fake cop ERBES, and they verified that he is in fact RCMP, and it was ERBES by his car number, which is this KL322, whatever, I can't remember. And so I've been going to court now with ERBES for these tickets that he gave me on January 29th, 2022. Failure to produce ID, your driver's license, and he gave me another one, failure to state name and address, like two of the same things. And the first one, the fail to state give him a driver's license, was already stayed by the Crown. And so he gave me another ticket for the same thing, to keep the court going again, the exact same court with the same, not a judge, but judicial justice Worship Berg is. And we don't even want to call him Worship. Really, he's just this corrupt little ERBES Conrad, little go-getter together. They're working in concert together, this Worship Berg is and ERBES, and you can see it in the court when the worship wouldn't let me cross-examine ERBES at the last court date, which was I think August 28th of last year, 2024. And so I'm hoping to make a video of that court, like a documentary from the transcripts, and recreate the whole court scene like they would do in, your Judge Judy style. But anyways, so I got an update. Sorry about the prequel here, the pre-up, but I just got a letter about my next court date, right? So I've been waiting. So I started to cross-examine ERBES in August, and now you have, September, October, November, December, January. I should be getting a court date in the mail, which will be then 3 months from now, a court date in like March or so. And so I'm gonna read you the update, and we got a little cat fight going on. And just to show you, there's the RCMP logo at the top of the letter, right? And let me proceed here. Holy crap, cat chasing cat. And this letter is addressed to Marcel Irnie, and it's actually dated December 23rd, 2024. Of course, there was no mail going on too much lately. Dear Mr. Irnie, and I'm going to tell you at the bottom, is yours truly, Staff Sergeant Justin Abels. So if you guys have been following the ERBES saga, Abels, I found out, was Conrad ERBES' supervisor, his direct supervisor. So it's not like the watch commander who was on command that night. He's his overall supervisor. And I contacted Abels. I tried to contact him. I tried to give him phone calls. They just go to his voicemail. He never calls back. I wrote my request for particulars for the court, all of the information for court. My request for particulars was written to him and dropped off at the RCMP about ERBES, my disclosure request. And Abel's never contacted me. In fact, he had an underling, just some other, some other constable contact me with probably ERBES sitting right beside him, asking me questions about the event, and I'm trying to tell him my story, but he didn't really care. It was just a setup to like get me off their back. But so now, this is the first news from Abel's ever. And as we're waiting for, the 5th or 6th court date? I think it was the first one was in 2023, it was December. Then we had March, then we had June and August, and so many, I can't remember now. And of course, he sued me in small claims court, and I went to that one in September and won, where he said libel. I was liable of my video footage, and I didn't ask him for permission, and I wasn't allowed to make fun of him in my videos of him that night. All right, so all the pre-up. This is it. Stay of proceedings for violation ticket AJ 24629795. Hearing date January 29th, 2025. So apparently I have a hearing date of January 29th. I never got that letter, by the way. And I never came through. So that's coming up pretty quick. But it says in response to a stay of proceedings. Please be advised that a stay of proceedings has been entered on the above noted ticket. You will not be required to attend court or make a payment for this violation ticket, as the issuing officer will not be attending court that day. Should you have any questions, please contact the Kelowna Municipal RCMP at 762-3300. Yours truly, Staff Sergeant Justin Abels, 48698/098859, Advisory NCO of Operations. So they stayed the ticket. They didn't want ERBES going to court again.
Wow.
Because they know my I just started my cross-exam. Well, I'm halfway into my cross-examination, and you have Worship, this lawyer, municipal kind of judge, he was trying to stop me from asking all of these questions to get ERBES to talk about how he sued me in court and how there was a detailed security report by the bylaw. And just everything, how I called 911, which was a misuse of emergency services, even though I didn't call 911, I called the 762. Everything ERBES said is a lie.
Lies.
A lie. They put everyone, like Tina and people are my father. Why don't you just do a Jordan application? It's been over the allotted 2 years. A Jordan application is like you're allowed a fair and due process of trial in a reasonable time period. And for criminal court, it was like around 2 years. I can't remember the months right now. And I've exceeded that by far, 1,071 days, right, already. And but I didn't want to, because I actually wanted to keep my cross-examination going, and I'm making a formal complaint against Worship Burgess, this lawyer with the BC Lawyers Association, and just to kind of get to the bottom of it all. But we're not going to court now, which I'm sure Tina's happy about.
Well, I'm happy about it, but just because it's like, hopefully I don't know, but maybe you don't have any closure with it. How are you going to feel?
Well, obviously I wouldn't have made that court date, so if I have to make that court date, I have to make a rescheduling, because we're going to Baja and Southern California and all that good stuff. But I wanted to keep the cross going from what I learned with Worship Burgess blocking my questions. But now I know from that what to say. It's like, hey, I'm allowed to do this. This is in relation to this ticket where he says I didn't state name and address. And he said this in his testimony. So I have to respond to that. And I'm allowed to see if the officer is truthful for his integrity. You're allowed to present these arguments. And so I would have those arguments ready to go and the reasons for these questions. But, it would have been interesting to see what Worship Burgess would have done when he's, being investigated by the BC Lawyers Association, and all they have to do is get the transcripts. I'm going to tell them, you just need to get the transcripts from this court date, and you'll see how I'm literally cross-examining Brian Burgess, instead of ERBES. Every question I asked ERBES, Brian would try to answer for him.
So who put the stay in? Like,
It would have been Abel's or Herbs and Abel's, or even somebody above Abel's.
Can you find out? Do you
You
care?
can't find out anything.
No.
I'm still trying to. I did my application about when I was assaulted on the KVR, the rail trail, right? Doing an application for that, and nobody wants to give you. In my application for my notice of particulars, they would not give me any of the particulars. You got to go battle to get all of this information yourself.
You did get mail about your complaint against
Conrad Herbes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I guess that kind of goes with this. I got the 30-day update from Failure, and it'll put a little pause. I'll find it. So on December 15th, I got an interim letter, which I get every 30 days from the RCMP in regards to my CRCC investigation, Civilian Review and Complaint Commission. And Staff Sergeant Ryan Failer was the acting officer in charge of client and corporate services, and he was actually just upgraded to a sergeant during the investigation. That's how long it's taken. So this complaint was started on January 24th, 2023, right? You have to make a complaint within a year of the January 29th. So I had this all done for January 24th, and now we're 2 years after that, almost. We're almost 2 years after that, and almost 3 years after the original incident. Dear Marcel Irnie, on December 15th, this letter refers to your complaint against Constable Herbes on the Kelowna RCMP detachment that you made the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission on January 24th, 23. Please be advised that the investigation is beginning to draft the final investigative report. So that's different. Every time it's 30 days, investigation is ongoing. Investigation is ongoing. Every 30, and they don't tell you anything. And I've met with him so many times, and he told me a year ago that this was going to be done in summer. A year ago in the summer. Now it's a year and months later, and I'm getting a letter. It's beginning to close, so it makes no sense. In accordance with the provisions of the RCMP Police Act, you will be advised of the progress of your complaint every 30 days until it is completed. Advised of the progress. That means they just send you a letter saying it's ongoing. It's all bullshit, a bunch of malarkey. And yours truly, Staff Sergeant Ryan Failer. So that's where we're at right now. We're heading to Baja. And Freddie. And so the Herbes saga is coming to a close. I'm never going to get to finish my cross-examination, and I could have done also an application to go to provincial court, or the Jordan application, going into provincial court to be heard in front of a provincial court judge because of my civil rights were violated, but then they would just stay it. I purposely didn't do any of that, didn't do the Jordan, didn't do application for my Charter of Rights violations, to go to another court and have these guys just stop it, because they're not going to go in front of a real judge. Herbes is never going to go in front of a real judge where he can actually have a judge that's not in each other's pocket together. Like a real judge. Not
but they see each other every day, right?
They work with each other every day or multiple times per week. They probably have a relationship where they're meeting in a Boston Pizza for drinks. You can imagine the way they were going. Herbes is 30 minutes late for court. Oh, we'll wait for him. Oh, Herbes is down doing personal business when we're waiting for him in court too.
To sue you.
To sue me personally, not as the RCMP, personally. And then this worship, this is none of my business, take it up with the RCMP. He is the RCMP. And you have no oversight and you have no care. You are complicit.
He had no compassion at all.
Brian Burgess is complicit with this whole thing. It goes right back to the beginning when Herbes gave me a ticket, and he puts the wrong date on it, or how they fudge the ticket on purpose. What did he do? Yeah, I go to dispute the ticket, and it's oh, you can't, it's already passed. And I'm like, he just gave it to me. Or the ticket wasn't legible. And so then they only missed one of the 3 tickets he gave me. No front plate, no rear red flag on their rear because of the dirt bike that stuck out less than the rule of 1.2 meters, by the way. It would have won on that rule alone. But Herbes doesn't take a tape measure. He doesn't know. You don't need a red flag unless you're over 1.2 meters off of the rearmost bumper, which would be the camper bumper, right? Anyways, so what a saga. What a saga. So we're going to hear about the CRCC, how that goes through. I still did my FOIA application, my Freedom of Information Act, on me being assaulted, getting the video camera footage on the KVR as well. And apparently they arrested some people, and I can't even remember that corporal's name now. It's totally left my mind. You know, the one doing the investigation that I had to go meet back out there. I'm like, this is, and I went back there and I'm like, took pictures. This is one of the guys that attacked me. He's the one that ran to me. They're still looking for the girl. Here's that 6'4" guy, tall. You know, here's a picture, blah, blah, blah. And he says they've arrested some people, and he said it, he gave an application to the Crown for possible charges, and that was months ago. And he's never responded back to my reply. You know, I'm not getting no communication with him whatsoever besides his. I asked him a bunch of questions, and he sends me months later, I've sent an application to the Crown. But so what I've learned is, the RCMP, just like the Medical Institute, just like the military industrial complex, everybody is just, it's just a joke. We're living in a Canadian joke, just like the US has been in their long time in joke. And nothing is done to common sense. Nothing is done efficiently. Nothing is done for what's right. It's nothing to do with what's right. It's all about business or their personal pedigree about, protecting themselves or protecting their friends or helping themselves and their friends get in better positions. You fail upward with the government. So anyways, guys, I think it's, what is it today officially? It's January 4th. So we're
off to Baja on
in
the
a few
7th.
days, yeah. And then,
hopefully.
Yeah, and it's raining outside.
We've got a lot of things to do before we go, but
lots of packing to do and snowy. Yeah. Anyways.
What are you doing?